Now, this type of rocher is a circle, and Mom doesn't know where it is. She probably does now. So she probably does now. And I guess understanding that principle is very this way. So I guess I'm speaking in very this acts here of who they were this way, and I would say based on this part here, they kind of this this and deals with it with a view based on a hamburger and the ocean. And when it does it this way, permitted is something of a this here, that one here, to kind of be a shoppy from that little girl, possibly to kind of get to the heights of how the earth is measured, and to this type of width of how it's long. It could be from here to here, not from here to here. So it kind of gives a perspective why this way, and then complete that journey with that type of pheros. So it senses this payment. So these type of payments cannot be measured by the bulk. Oftentimes it's measured from this length of latte air and not the width, but it shows that this type of rocher does something of a to man, and only allows it to be of this circle. Does it call for hiding trees? Possibly not. So the trees does this to the bark and allows the bark to be still in the chosens, and it's already. Now oftentimes it goes through a lot of these type of things, so that how it gets to that circle, that chosen child, is kind of in a very mystic way, and not in a way of handing her something. And when it does, only then does she gets to kind of move forward to accomplish a task of this part of that bulk. And oftentimes it demands this type of environment, not the mud. So it hits hard with the mud and demands not to change anything for the examination of things of these here, of which accusations are real. Cannot be a killer, these type of pup. So it handles the situation with a lot of venom. So it will say it cannot tangibly take this or put it back. It just moves. So it senses that type of how the bark was given away, and comes in and chooses a path. Now oftentimes based on that part, it could sense a kind of a of what that discrepancy was, or what causes that child to kind of give up on this part, and it comes back gradually as she is pelted and put on a rigorous mission. Now, oftentimes it deals not with this or this person and finds herself being studied and puts things that way as she studied, and that complexity demands this type of crochet and not a crochet that was this here. So it's so that yours stays yours. Now, it's very important that mental for the child. Why? If you're going to insist on somebody else, you're not going to do that part there. So it says that it will, but you cannot challenge somebody to challenge themselves. Just say humans, the lifespan says, wear too quickly and finds themselves with an enormous error with these type of eyes. So it say it has to do this other person, but when you do this, it seems silly. What is this here? So it says we do find ourselves wanting to believe, but your belief is your belief. If you're going to seek a senior, then you have to seek a senior and make sure senior is not seeking bushes to live in, tents. So it says with a certain caliber, especially. Now, even the kind of bush people comes out. Why? When the job is accomplished on this part of that hair, they come out and seeks their fundings, and then has to release themselves. So it's not to be fatigued. Now, based on the functionality with the circle, it's very, that view of the ocean, is it to require that view? Perhaps, but it creates that dilemma when it says all of the islands are occupied or being diminished. So it creates that dilemma and then creates a L fakely and then carries that L into a kind of a U and then creates that circle based on the I, and there it functions. And where do we get to that point? Well, perhaps this way, and finds ourselves crossing over in the person's life this way and squeeze that person. That is kind of a way of telling that you are extremely hate. So it doesn't look good. So the person crawls down this way, crawls back this way, and crawls back to this part of that hair, which is that point of this this solar. So when it gets to that, it starts to reveal itself petit à petit and fine. That is kind of a delete for the crochet. So it just stays there and it knows that the dilemma is real. So when it is, you just have to, I suppose, carry yourself this way instead of this way. Now getting to that point has to be based on this type of chronomet. That this chronomet, I guess the chronomet, you probably see this, that of the child, her finger, instead of this recording at 9 minutes and 38 seconds already. So she kind of tips this of the crochet, and it probably comes forward and seeks release, peace that way. So it very interesting, the dynamics of the universe. For example, things of this that protrudes is just letting the child know that we would have never known. We just would have never known. I imagine my loins will see, and I will imagine it's an everlasting plight, figuring out this lady, everlasting. Now, when it gets to this point, it likes to be home. It just likes to be home where it belongs. No, I suppose I could say home would be somewhere where the little girl grew up, and that is a real disaster. So I probably will be instructionalized how to deal with accomplishing the task of that monetary of which owes the child. To that peculiarity of the birth. In other words, it seems like it was meant to be hidden in all aspects of humanity. In other words, this is not the one that I want to be out there, but it's insisting on so I had to put her in. And then you would realize that even dealing with that special pup, with the heights of this part of the tail, creates an animosity, so the warnings are real, and others are seeking to get there even before the lady can fathom getting there. And dealing with it, yes, no. So that's another problem. And getting there alone is because of this type of famousness that that attacks her every day. So she really doesn't like it, but has to deal with this part of herself, and that part has to be punchy, just getting there. So Greece didn't prove to be that bold, and France either. So it seems like that is a dilemma, but they probably have to deal. I don't know. You guys could have outdone yourselves in a way that says you become extremely dreamy bullies, and bullies to the rest of the planet is they're practically dying and has to be tamed in order to say, well, we're probably going to accept so that we can go now because we have exhausted them. In other words, it puts itself here. I am exhausted with that pop, even that type of pop, and leave that father alone. Now, do not deny your children's fathers based on this conclusion, and allow them, si tu veux, but I said do not deny them of that dad, and then creeps out, and it will put things in perspective for man who wants the contrary of that type of choppings of evil. And I would say that probably would have wanted to know that child. Do I suspect, based on the chronometer, 14 minutes and 20 seconds, I suspected he was denied completely of seeing that child with this type of heritage. And it has to be able to know that I was the only one who could have kept the child well. Now, I cannot be examining those type of men in Guyana, but I've seen in Parika a demonstration of how one was been denied and what he carried is a problem. So I suppose it has a this, they would say, and I don't know what a this is, but you are not of that heritage. Now, I cannot get into this type of holiness, but I would say that my hurts kind of carried me from the chin to that passage of the coup, and what is being exposed are people that goes in ways that are, I guess, saying tata. And when they have doing so, they are very cantankerous type of pup, and that is understanding what is something of this here. So if it comes in, those are rare moments of the moment. And now I would say this says so to this lady's plantation. With that being said, I will surrender.